everyone. Let's get introduced with the number system. And first of all, natural numbers. What is the set of natural numbers? You remember you have studied in the lower classes. In the previous classes you have been studying about the natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational numbers, etc. So natural numbers the set is represented by the letter capital N, and it consists of which numbers? All the counting numbers are there in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this, all the counting numbers are there in set of natural numbers. Then comes whole numbers. Here it is represented by W, and W is the set of whole numbers. In whole numbers, one extra number is included, that is 0, along with all the natural numbers. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this onwards. Now come to the integers. The set of integers is represented by the letter Z. It consists of, just imagine, all the whole numbers and the negatives of natural numbers. So negatives of natural numbers means -1, -2, -3, -4 onwards, and then all the whole numbers means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and onwards. So all the negatives of natural numbers and the 0, all the whole numbers. So let's write -3, -2, -1, then 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 onwards. So this is the representation of integers. Integers consist of all the negatives of natural numbers along with the whole numbers. So this will represent the integers. Then come to rational numbers, and the set of rational numbers is represented by the letter Q. And before going to tell you what the rational numbers are, let me tell you something. It is such a number which can be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q, they are integers, and Q is an integer, P is an integer, but Q should not be the integer 0, because all the integers are, this minus means negative natural numbers, and all the whole numbers. So 0 is also also an integer, but this integer should not be there in the denominator, because in the previous classes we have learnt that if the denominator becomes 0, the value becomes means undefined. So the concept of having 0 in the denominator is not a valid thing. That's why it is the condition given that Q shouldn't be equal to 0. Means any other integer can be placed in this place of a denominator, but it should not be equal to 0. The number which can be represented in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are integers, and Q is not equal to the integer 0. Q is not equal to the integer 0. Because if you want to understand it in more details, I must tell you 12 divided by 6 equals to 2. 6 into 2 is giving us 12. If 12 is divided by 6, we are getting 2. So it's very clear that 6 and 2 are multiplied and we would get 12. Like that, if you divide any number by 0, suppose you are getting something, and the 0 will be multiplied by which number to give us 5? This is not possible to multiply any number with 0 so as to get 5 as the product. That's why having 0 in the denominator is not at all allowed for a rational numbers form. The rational number should be of the form P by Q, where P and Q are integers, but Q is not equal to the integer 0. Bas. Now we shall go to the irrational numbers. So before going to irrational numbers, see that P by Q form any number, all these natural numbers, whole numbers and integers. If you analyze all of of them can be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. Take randomly any natural numbers, any natural number you take randomly. 10. 10 is a natural number. It can be written as 10 by 1, where 10 and 1 both are integers because it is in the form of P by Q. P and Q, they are integers. So this is an integer, this is an integer, and Q is not equal to 0. P, Q both are integers and Q is not equal to 0. That means P, Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. If in this form, P by Q form, any number can be represented, then that's a rational number. So in that way, all the natural numbers, all the whole numbers, all the integers can be written in the form of P by Q, and P and Q are integers, Q is not equal to 0. Suppose you want to represent 0 in the form of P by Q, so as to say that 0 is also a rational number, because I told you that 0 is also a rational number because all these numbers, all these sets have the numbers which can be written in the form of P by Q and P by Q such that P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. So this 0 is also an integer, 0 is also a whole number. How can we write in the form of a rational number? Means in the form of P by Q, how can we write down? So what is P here, what is Q here? So 0 can be written as 0 divided by any number, 0 by 2 or 0 by 3. Anything you can write so that it can give you a look like P by Q form, and P and Q are integers. 0 is an integer, 2 is an integer, 0 is an integer, 3 is an integer, and Q is not equal to 0, means the denominator is not equal to 0. So the condition gets satisfied for saying that 0 is a rational number, because a rational number can be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. Next, it is all about the rational numbers. All the rational numbers can be written in the form of P by Q, where P, Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. And those numbers which cannot be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0, what can they be called? They can be called as irrational numbers. Those numbers which are not rationals are irrationals. So rational numbers which are not rational, they are irrational. So rational numbers and irrational numbers which can be written in the form of P by Q are rational numbers, and which cannot be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0, are irrational numbers. And if we combine all the rationals and irrational numbers, then we would get the set of whole numbers. That means you understood what are rationals. So these numbers are called rational numbers. Means rational numbers, these are, which can be written as P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0. And those numbers which cannot be written in the form of P by Q, where P and Q are not integers, P and Q are integers and Q is not equal to 0, those numbers are irrational numbers. So which are rationals? They are like this, and which are not like this, they are irrationals. And if rational numbers and irrational numbers together we would take on the number line, we would take the set of real numbers. So what are real numbers? It is the collection of rational numbers and irrational numbers. Rational numbers and irrational numbers together form the set of whole numbers. Means all the kinds of possible numbers together make the set of real numbers. Now, this is all about your rational and irrational number. But if we go to study the decimal notation of a rational number and the decimal notation of an irrational number, how would they be like? So first you see the decimal representation of a rational number. I am giving you examples, so then you would understand. So first understand, this is 0.25. This is having a certain number of places after decimal. Means we can count the number of places after decimal. How many places are there? 1, 2. After decimal there are 2 places. We can count. So this is what kind of decimal number? Understand this. This is a terminating decimal number. This type of decimals are called terminating. This is 1. Another example is 0.8. We can count the number of places after decimal. So this is terminating decimal. So this is called, this type of decimals are called terminating. Terminating means we can count the number of places after decimal sign. So terminating decimal. And what are other types of decimal numbers? 0.3333333, like this, not ending at all. Otherwise we can say 12.01010101, like this it is continuing but not coming to an end. So such numbers are called non-terminating and recurring. Non-terminating and recurring. What is non-terminating? It never ends. It does not terminate. That's why this is non-terminating. What is recurring? You see a single number 3 that is getting repeated. So repeating numbers are called recurring numbers. Non-terminating and recurring. Non-terminating and recurring. This is also having a set of numbers 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. This is also getting repeated. This is also recurring. So non-terminating and recurring numbers of decimals are also there. So you understood, one is terminating and this type of numbers are called non-terminating and recurring. Non-terminating and recurring. Now come to another kind of decimal representation. This is suppose 1.34579821457. Like this it continues, but no number gets repeated. So it is not called, it is called a non-recurring number. It is non-terminating but non-recurring. Non-terminating and non-recurring. This type of numbers which do not have the repetition of any number after decimal sign, it goes on, it continues, it never comes to an end, means it is not terminating, it does not terminate, but that also doesn't get repeated. That's why we say that this is a non-terminating and a non-recurring decimal number. So it is called non-terminating and non-recurring. Why it is non-recurring? Look at this, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 8, 2, 1, 4, 5, 7, 1. It continues, but no number gets repeated. It never comes to end. It never terminates. It also doesn't have any repeating number. That's why this is non-terminating and non-recurring. Non-recurring. But what is the main thing that I want to tell you about? I want to tell you that the rationals have what kind of decimal notation and the irrationals have what kind of decimal representation. So the rational numbers have either terminating decimal notation or non-terminating and recurring. Means a rational number can either have a terminating decimal notation or a non-terminating and recurring decimal notation. Now the irrational numbers. The irrational numbers can have a non-terminating and a non-recurring decimal representation. Irrationals. The irrational numbers are non-terminating and non-recurring. And if we add the rational numbers and irrational numbers, we would get the collection of real numbers. Real numbers means, if you simplify the meaning of this word, real number. Real means what? What is possible, what exists. So all the sorts of numbers are coming under the set of real numbers, rationals as well as irrationals. But a rational number concept should be very clear, because on this you have to solve many problems. You should understand that the rational number should always be in the form of p by q, where p and q are what? They are integers. Q, the denominator, shouldn't be equal to 0. And what are irrational numbers? Those numbers which cannot be written in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0, are called irrational numbers. rationals and irrationals together form the set of real numbers.